So let me make sure I heard this right, Ethan Harper said, crossing his arms, a smirk tugging at the corners of his mouth. You want to give me harder challenges? Did I get that right, or is my universal translator malfunctioning? The alien's mandibles clicked in what could only be described as laughter. You heard me, Bug Eyes, Ethan Harper replied. This so-called elite training program of yours is about as tough as a toddler's playtime. I came here to push my limits, not to go on vacation. The mess hall fell silent. Every arthropod, all 6 eyes fixed on the human, seemed to lean in, waiting for a response. Ethan Harper could almost hear their exoskeletons creaking in the tense quiet. Ha! Oh, this is rich! Grulok Zereth's laughter sounded like a malfunctioning garbage disposal. You do realize this program has toughened, battle-hardened Zorvani tribes' weight, right? We've had Zeraxians begging for their mothers, and those guys reproduce by budding. Ethan Harper shrugged, his grin spreading. What can I say? I'm a glutton for punishment. Now, are you going to step it up? Or do I need to go find a real challenge somewhere else? Grulok Zereth's antenna twitched nervously. You Deathworlders are all the same, thinking you're tougher than the whole galaxy. Fine, human. You want a challenge? I'll give you one that'll make you wish you'd never left your planet's gravity well. Bring it on, Jiminy Cricket, Ethan Harper quipped, only to be met with confused stares from the aliens around him. Grulok Zereth scuttled off, muttering about insane mammals and lawsuits waiting to happen. Ethan Harper couldn't help but chuckle. He had come to this remote space station seeking the ultimate test, and by God he was going to get it, even if he had to annoy every 6-legged pencil pusher in the galaxy to make it happen. What Ethan Harper didn't know was that his challenge request was about to send shockwaves through the entire alien training facility, triggering a chain of events that would forever change the way the galaxy viewed humans. Grulok Zereth burst into the trainer's lounge, his exoskeleton nearly vibrating with agitation. We've got a situation, people, or air beings, whatever, he snapped. A bloop, an amorphous blob of a creature, oozed its way toward Grulok Zereth. What's got your thorax in a twist? Did another fluid clog the waste extraction system? Worse, Grulok Zereth hissed. We've got a human asking for harder challenges. The lounge erupted into chaos. Shrill alien exclamations, whistles, and what could only be described as the sound of a deflating balloon filled the air. Impossible squared! A creature resembling an Thraxolite's being with iridescent feathers exclaimed. Our current regimen is designed to push the limits of the galaxy's toughest species. Grulok Zereth's mandibles clicked in frustration. Tell that to the smug bag of meat out there. He called our elite program a toddler's playpen. You have any idea how that makes us look? Treller Yevok, the gelatinous blob, gurgled thoughtfully, its rippling body signaling deep thought. Perhaps we've underestimated the Deathworlders again. You think? Grulok Zereth shot back, sarcasm dripping from his voice. We need to figure something out, and fast. If word gets out that our training isn't tough enough for humans, we'll be the laughingstock of the Galactic Federation. The trainers fell silent, considering their options. Finally, Maya Foster spoke up. What if we combine the challenges? Take the hardest parts of each module and create a super challenge. Grulok Zereth's antenna perked up. Go on. We could start with the gravity simulations from the gas giant survival course, Maya Foster continued, warming to the idea. Then add the toxic atmosphere from the Venomancer course, throw in fluctuations from the binary star endurance run, and maybe some of those carnivorous plants from the jungle maze for good measure. Big Glowball, another voice chimed in, and we could include psychic resistance training from the Mentalist course. Grulok Zereth rubbed his mandibles together, a wicked gleam in his eyes. Now we're talking. Let's see how the human handles that. We'll show him what a real challenge is. As the trainers excitedly brainstormed increasingly sadistic challenges, none of them noticed the small drone hovering in the corner of the room, its camera focused intently on their plans. Back in his quarters, Ethan Harper leaned back in his chair with a satisfied grin. He watched the live feed from his spy drone, cracking his knuckles in anticipation. Oh, this is going to be good, he chuckled. Ethan Harper had come to this alien facility on a mission to push himself beyond his limits. What he hadn't expected was that the trainers, despite all their boasting about the toughest program in the galaxy, had severely underestimated human capability. It wasn't entirely their fault. Humans were still relatively new to the galactic stage, and most species viewed them with a mix of fear and fascination. The term Death Worlder was often thrown around, typically accompanied by nervous glances. From their perspective, Earth probably did seem like a death trap. Powerful gravity, extreme weather, tectonic instability, and a biosphere that seemed designed to kill in 1,000 creative ways. It was no wonder the rest of the galaxy thought humans were intense, but that was exactly why Ethan Harper was here. He wanted to show the galaxy what humans were truly capable of. If that meant playing up the crazy Death Worlder stereotype a bit, then so be it. As he watched the alien trainers frantically put together their super challenge, Ethan Harper couldn't help but laugh. They had no idea what was coming. "All right, you overgrown insects," he muttered to himself, his eyes gleaming. "Show me what you've got." The next morning, Ethan Harper walked into the training hall with a determined stride, ready to face whatever the aliens had in store for him. Ethan Harper walked into the training arena looking for all the world like he was heading to a day at the beach rather than facing what the aliens believed to be certain doom. Grulok Zireth and a nervous-looking team of trainers were waiting for him. The arthropodan mandibles twitched uncontrollably, a clear sign of stress. Well, Ethan Harper drawled, grinning from ear to ear. "If it isn't my favorite squad of extraterrestrial drill sergeants, you all look like you've seen a ghost, or whatever the equivalent is in your various cultures." Grulok Zireth chittered, trying to regain his composure. "Human Ethan Harper, we've designed a special challenge for you as you requested. I must warn you, it's unlike anything we've ever tried before. You still have a chance to back out. No one would think less of you." Ethan Harper's grin widened. "Oh, Grulok Zireth, I didn't know you cared, but don't you worry about me. I'm ready for whatever you've cooked up." The arthropodan's compound eyes narrowed sharply. "Very well, don't say I didn't warn you. Follow me." As they proceeded deeper into the facility, Ethan Harper felt the tension building. The other aliens they passed in the hallways gave him a wide berth, muttering among themselves. He overheard snippets of their conversation. "Is that the crazy human? I heard he asked for something tougher than the CXY battle simulation. He's got to be looking for a death wish." Ethan Harper just smiled and waved, playing the part of the carefree Death Worlder as much as he could. After what felt like an eternity, they arrived at a massive set of doors, emblazoned with warning signs in at least a dozen languages. Grulok Zireth turned to face Ethan Harper, his expression serious. "This is your last chance to back out, human. What lies beyond these doors is a combination of the most grueling challenges our facility has to offer. We've never even attempted something like this before. The physical and mental strain could be catastrophic." Ethan Harper paused, making a show of considering the offer, then shrugged nonchalantly. "Sounds like a typical Tuesday back home. Let's get this over with." Grulok Zireth sighed deeply, then signaled to one of his assistants. The massive doors began to slide open with a mechanical hiss. "Very well, welcome, Ethan Harper of Earth, to what we're calling the Death Worlder's Gambit. May whatever deities you believe in have mercy on your soul." As the doors fully opened, Ethan Harper was greeted by a swirling maelstrom of chaos beyond. He took a deep breath, cracked his neck, and stepped forward into the unknown. "Game on." The moment Ethan Harper crossed the threshold, he was slammed by a wall of pressure that nearly buckled his knees. The gravity here was extreme, easily 3 or 4 times Earth's normal. The air was thick, acrid, and burning his lungs with every breath. "Interesting opening move," Ethan Harper muttered, forcing himself to stand tall. He could see the aliens watching from behind a force field, their faces a mix of horror and morbid fascination. As his eyes adjusted to the dim reddish light, he took in the scene around him. The arena was massive, easily the size of a football stadium. The terrain was a nightmarish patchwork of environments, steaming swamps, jagged rock formations, and what looked suspiciously like a field of enormous snapping plants. "All right, let's see what you've got," Ethan Harper called out, his voice straining to be heard over the oppressive atmosphere. In response, the ground beneath him trembled violently. Suddenly, Geysers of what looked like liquid fire erupted all around him. The temperature soared, and sweat instantly beaded on Ethan Harper's skin. "Oh, temperature extremes too? You shouldn't have," Ethan Harper grunted, quickly dodging to avoid being cooked alive. But no sooner had he evaded the flames than the air temperature plummeted. Frost began to form on his eyelashes, and his breath turned into thick, steaming clouds. "Talk about mood swings," Ethan Harper muttered, teeth chattering. "Remind me never to piss off whoever's in charge of the thermostat." Fighting against the crushing gravity and the unpredictable climate, Ethan Harper became aware of a new sensation. It began as a slight pressure behind his eyes, but soon escalated into a pounding headache. "Ah, there it is, the psychic element," he grunted, recognizing the familiar signs of mental interference. "Sorry, folks, but this mine's off limits." Ethan Harper had undergone extensive psychic resistance training back on Earth. While it wasn't common knowledge across the galaxy, humans had their own latent psychic abilities. Focusing hard, he visualized his mind as an impenetrable fortress and pushed back against the alien influence. He heard gasps from the observation area and allowed himself a small smirk. "Point for the Death Worlder." Pressing on, Ethan Harper found himself facing a massive carnivorous plant. It stood easily twice his height, its mouth full of razor-sharp teeth, dripping with some kind of glowing fluid. "Well, aren't you a beauty?" Ethan Harper said, eyeing the plant with caution. "I don't suppose you'd consider being a vegetarian?" The plant's only response was to lunge at him, its massive jaws snapping shut just inches from his face. Ethan Harper ducked and rolled, landing on his feet in a defensive stance. "Guess not. All right, Salad, let's dance." What followed was a strange and intense battle of man versus plant. Ethan Harper dodged and weaved, using the plant's own momentum against it. Finally, he saw an opening and delivered a powerful roundhouse kick to what passed for the plant's stem. There was a sickening crunch, and the plant collapsed, twitching. Ethan Harper turned to face the observation area, bowing with exaggerated flair. "And that, ladies, gentlemen, and beings of indeterminate gender, is how we handle overgrown weeds back on Earth." He could practically hear Grulok Zirith's mandibles grinding in frustration as Ethan Harper continued through the arena, conquering each challenge with a mix of skill, quick thinking, and, of course, his Death World physical abilities. The atmosphere in the observation area shifted from disbelief to awe. "Impossible!" Treller Yevok squawked, feathers fluffed up in agitation. "He's treating our toughest challenges like they're some kind of amusement park ride." Glow gurgled in agreement, its gelatinous form rippling with excitement. "Fascinating, the human's adaptability is beyond our comprehension. Did you see how quickly he adjusted to the gravity shifts?" Grulok Zirith remained eerily silent, his compound eyes locked on Ethan Harper's every move. The human had just navigated through a cloud of hallucinogenic spores without faltering and was now squaring off against a simulated Oxyl Constructs warrior twice his size. "We might have underestimated him," Grulok Zirith finally admitted, his voice barely audible, as if the weight of the realization was too much to bear. Back in the arena, Ethan Harper was absolutely thriving. The Oxyl Constructs simulation proved to be a worthy opponent, its 4 arms brandishing blades with deadly precision. However, Ethan Harper had studied Oxyl Constructs combat extensively, and he used his smaller size and enhanced agility to outmaneuver the holographic warrior. As a sweeping blade came toward him, Ethan Harper ducked under it, then struck rapidly at the warrior's weak points, targeting the lower body. The hologram staggered, losing its balance. Ethan Harper seized the moment. With a quick sprint, he launched himself into the air, using the increased gravity to power his leap. His fist made contact with the Oxyl Constructs' jaw in a perfect uppercut. The hologram flickered and vanished, leaving Ethan Harper standing alone in the arena, panting but wearing an enormous grin. "Is that all you've got?" he called out, his voice echoing through the sudden silence. "Come on, I'm just getting warmed up." In the observation area, the alien trainers exchanged looks of shock and disbelief. They had thrown every challenge they could at this human, combining their most brutal tests into a grueling gauntlet that was supposed to be impossible to survive, let alone conquer. Yet here was Ethan Harper, not just surviving, but thriving. Grulok Zirith's antenna drooped, a clear sign of defeat. "Shut it down," he ordered softly, almost apologetically. "End the simulation." As the various environmental challenges powered down, Ethan Harper casually made his way back to the entrance. The doors slid open, revealing a welcoming committee of slack-jawed aliens. "So," Ethan Harper said nonchalantly, brushing some alien plant matter off his shoulder, "what's up for round 2? The aftermath of Ethan Harper's performance in the Deathworlder's Gambit rippled through the entire training facility. Word spread quickly, and soon Ethan Harper found himself the center of attention wherever he went. Aliens from all species stopped and stared as he passed, whispering to each other in a mixture of awe and fear. Ethan Harper took it all in stride, never letting the attention rattle him. He continued attending the standard training sessions, though it was clear that the facility's usual programs were no longer enough for him. The trainers, now led by a clearly frazzled Grulok Zirith, scrambled to create more difficult and inventive scenarios to keep up with the insatiable human's desire to test his limits. One afternoon, about a week after the infamous Gambit incident, Ethan Harper was relaxing in the facility's recreational area, casually tossing a weight training device into the air when Grulok Zirith approached, looking especially nervous. "Ah, Ethan Harper," the Arthropodan began, his mandibles twitching anxiously. "Might I have a word?" Ethan Harper lowered the alien weight training device he'd been juggling, his grin widening. "Sure thing, Grulok Zirith. What's on your mind? Found another impossible challenge for me?" Grulok Zirith's compound eyes darted around, nervously scanning the room before focusing back on Ethan Harper. "Actually, that is to say the facility administration, we have a proposition for you." Ethan Harper leaned back in his seat, intrigued. "I'm all ears." The Arthropodan let out a deep, almost mechanical sigh, like the sound of a vacuum cleaner starting up. "We'd like to offer you a position as a special consultant and trainer here at the facility." Ethan Harper's eyebrows shot up in surprise. "Me? A trainer? I thought I was your worst nightmare, Grulok Zirith. What's changed?" Grulok Zirith's antenna drooped slightly, his tone laced with resignation. "Your performance in the Deathworlder's Gambit has opened our eyes in ways we didn't expect. We've realized that our understanding of human potential is severely limited, and if we're going to continue claiming to offer the galaxy's premier training program, we need to adapt." Ethan Harper let out a short laugh. "So you want me to help you toughen up your programs? Make them more Deathworlder-friendly?" "Exactly." Grulok Zirith nodded enthusiastically, his mandibles clicking with excitement. "Your insights would be invaluable in redesigning our courses to truly challenge beings from all walks of life, especially those from high-gravity, high-risk worlds like Earth." Ethan Harper paused, stroking his chin as he considered the proposal. It was tempting. He'd come to this facility searching for the ultimate challenge, but maybe this was an opportunity to create something bigger, not just for himself, but for other humans who might come to this corner of the galaxy in the future. "All right, Grulok Zirith," Ethan Harper said, his eyes sparkling with mischief. "I'm in. But there's one condition." Grulok Zirith's antenna twitched nervously. "And that is?" Ethan Harper's grin widened. "You've got to be my first test subject for anything I design." Grulok Zirith's exoskeleton seemed to lose color at the suggestion, but to his credit, he didn't flinch. "I suppose that's fair, though I fear I'll regret this decision." Ethan Harper laughed heartily, clapping Grulok Zirith on what passed for a shoulder, causing the Arthropodan to stumble slightly. "Oh, you'll definitely regret it. But trust me, it'll be worth it. Now let's get to redesigning some training programs, shall we?" Over the next few months, the alien training facility underwent a complete transformation under Ethan Harper's guidance. The human threw himself into his new role with his usual zeal, pushing the boundaries of what the facility's technology could accomplish. Ethan Harper's first major project was to create a fully adaptive training system, one that could analyze a trainee's physiology, history, and capabilities in real time, adjusting the difficulty as needed. No more one-size-fits-all programs. Each trainee would face challenges specifically tailored to their needs and abilities. To truly push them to their limits, Ethan Harper explained to a group of wide-eyed alien engineers. The key is creating an experience that always hovers just on the edge of what's possible for each individual. Too easy, and they get bored. Too difficult, and they get discouraged. We need to find that sweet spot where growth happens. The engineers nodded, their various appendages scribbling notes furiously. Ethan Harper's next focus was on mental resilience. Drawing from his own experiences and Earth's long history of warfare and survival against overwhelming odds, he designed scenarios that tested not only physical strength, but also mental fortitude, adaptability, and creative problem-solving in real combat or survival situations. As I've told a class of trainees before, Ethan Harper said, addressing the diverse species in front of him, it's not always the strongest who survive, but the ones who are adaptable, the ones who can think on their feet and come up with solutions no one else would even consider. To demonstrate, Ethan Harper ran the class through a simulation of his own design, a constantly shifting maze filled with environmental hazards and logic puzzles. The goal was simple: reach the center. But the path was never the same twice, and what worked in one section could be deadly in another. The results were nothing short of impressive. Species that had traditionally excelled in purely physical challenges found themselves struggling with the mental aspects, while others unearthed hidden strengths they didn't know they had. True to his word, Ethan Harper used Grulok Zireth as his primary test subject for new programs. The Arthropodan's initial dread slowly turned into a grudging respect and eventually genuine enthusiasm. "I never thought I'd say this," Grulok Zireth admitted one day, his exoskeleton gleaming with sweat after completing an especially grueling course. "But I think I'm actually enjoying this." Ethan Harper grinned and tossed the alien a towel. "See? What did I tell you? Pain is just weakness leaving the body, or exoskeleton, in your case." As word spread of the facility's transformation, it began attracting attention from across the galaxy. Species that had once dismissed the idea of interspecies training programs found themselves intrigued. Enrollment numbers skyrocketed, and soon the facility had to expand to accommodate the influx of new trainees. But success brought new challenges. Not everyone was thrilled about the idea of a human revolutionizing galactic training standards. Some of the more conservative elements in the Galactic Federation saw Ethan Harper's methods as dangerously aggressive, potentially upsetting the delicate balance between species. Ethan Harper found himself not only navigating physical obstacles, but also political ones. He had to quickly adapt to the intricacies of interspecies diplomacy, balancing the need for tough, effective training with the cultural sensitivities of a diverse galactic community. It was during one such diplomatic negotiation that Ethan Harper faced perhaps his greatest challenge yet. The Lunari Shades, a reclusive species known for their incredible mental abilities but fragile physical forms, had sent a delegation to observe the facility's new programs. Their leader, a being resembling a shimmering translucent jellyfish hovering in an anti-gravity field, fixed Ethan Harper with its many multifaceted eyes. "We have concerns," the Lunari Shades leader communicated telepathically, its thoughts laced with a mix of curiosity and caution. "Your methods seem intense, perhaps too intense for beings like ourselves." Ethan Harper took a deep breath, reminding himself of the delicacy of the situation. The Lunari Shades were respected members of the Galactic Federation, and their support could make or break the facility's new direction. "I understand your concerns," Ethan Harper said carefully, choosing his words with precision. "But I believe you'll find that our programs are designed to challenge beings of all capabilities, including those whose strengths lie in mental rather than physical realms." The Lunari Shades leader's form shimmered skeptically. "Perhaps a demonstration is in order?" Ethan Harper nodded, a plan already taking shape in his mind. "I'd be happy to oblige. In fact, I have something in mind that will show you just how adaptable our training systems are. It will push even the most refined minds to their limits." Leading the Lunari Shades delegation toward one of the newly redesigned simulation chambers, Ethan Harper felt a flutter of excitement in his chest. This was his chance to prove that his methods could benefit even the most unique and specialized species in the galaxy. The chamber's door hissed open, revealing a stark, featureless white room. Ethan Harper gestured for the Lunari Shades leader to enter, What you're about to experience, Ethan Harper explained, is a mental challenge unlike anything you've encountered before. It will adapt to your abilities in real time, pushing you to your limits while never exceeding them. The Lunari Shades leader moved forward, its gelatinous form rippling. Ethan Harper hoped the shimmering was excitement, not fear. Very well, human, the alien's thoughts echoed in Ethan Harper's mind. Show us what your Death World ingenuity has created. As the door sealed behind the Lunari Shades leader, Ethan Harper turned to the control panel, taking a deep breath as his fingers danced across the holographic interface. All right, he muttered under his breath. Let's show them what humanity is really capable of. With a final tap, the simulation began. Inside the chamber, the Lunari Shades leader found itself immersed in a vast, ever-shifting mindscape. Concepts and ideas manifested into physical forms, swirling around in a dazzling display of color and light. Logic and perception puzzles appeared, each one more complex than the last. As the Lunari Shades' formidable intellect engaged with the challenges, the simulation responded, adapting and evolving to match the leader's growing abilities. It pushed the Lunari Shades to its limits, forcing it to think in new ways, to approach problems from angles it had never considered before. Outside, Ethan Harper and the rest of the delegation watched in awe as the Lunari Shades leader's form pulsed and shimmered, its mental exertions visible even to the naked eye. Hours passed, though to the Lunari Shades it could have been minutes or millennia. Finally, with a burst of psychic energy that made everyone in the observation room wince, the simulation concluded. The simulation ended, and the chamber door slid open. The Lunari Shades leader emerged, its usually translucent form now thick with vibrant, swirling colors, a clear sign of intense mental strain among its species. For a long moment, there was complete silence. Then, much to everyone's surprise, the Lunari Shades leader began to laugh, a sound like the soft chime of wind on a breezy summer day. Extraordinary! The alien's thoughts rang out, filled with a pure joy that could only come from awe. In all my cycles, I have never encountered anything like this. It was invigorating, challenging, beautiful. Ethan Harper let out a breath he hadn't realized he was holding. I'm glad you liked it, he said, his voice betraying a touch of pride he couldn't quite hide. That's exactly what we're aiming for here. Challenges that push you to grow no matter what your species or abilities are. The Lunari Shades leader turned to address its delegation. We arrived with doubts, it communicated, its thoughts clear and steady. We depart with certainty. This facility, under the guidance of this human, is doing vital work that could benefit not only individual species, but our entire galactic community. As the Lunari Shades delegation left, their voices buzzing with excitement, Ethan Harper found himself surrounded by his alien colleagues. Grulok Zireth was practically bouncing with energy. Do you realize what this means? The Arthropodan exclaimed, his voice filled with astonishment. The Lunari Shades' approval, it changes everything. Ethan Harper couldn't help but smile, a warm sense of pride flooding him. It's a great start, he said, his tone resolute. But we're just getting warmed up. There's still so much more we can do, so many new heights to reach. As he looked around at the diverse group of beings gathered around him, creatures from worlds he hadn't even heard of, Ethan Harper felt a deep sense of purpose unlike anything he'd experienced before. He'd come to this facility seeking the ultimate challenge, but what he found instead was something far greater, an opportunity to connect species, to show the galaxy that humans weren't just tough. They were inventive, adaptable, and capable of pushing the very boundaries of possibility. All right, team, Ethan Harper called, clapping his hands together, his voice full of enthusiasm. Let's get back to work. We've got an entire galaxy to train. As the group dispersed, each member returning to their tasks with renewed energy, Ethan Harper smiled to himself. Who could have imagined that a human from a backwater planet could end up changing the course of galactic training standards? But then again, that's the thing about Death Worlders. They have a way of exceeding expectations. And Ethan Harper? Well, he was only getting started. In the months and years that followed, the reputation of the training facility skyrocketed. Species from all corners of the galaxy traveled far and wide to experience the groundbreaking programs designed under Ethan Harper's guidance. The once skeptical Galactic Federation now hailed the facility as the prime example of what interspecies cooperation could achieve. Ethan Harper's methods were studied, scrutinized, and eventually adopted by other training centers across known space. The term Death Worlder Initiative came to symbolize not just pushing boundaries but achieving the impossible. But perhaps the most profound shift came in how other species viewed humans. No longer were they seen as brutish creatures from a hostile world. Instead, they were regarded as innovators, problem solvers, and invaluable allies in the universal quest for improvement. As for Ethan Harper, he continued to push himself and others beyond new limits. He never lost his love for a good challenge, often testing fresh simulations on himself before rolling them out to trainees. And every now and then, when things began to feel a bit too routine, he'd look over at Grulok Zirith with that trademark mischievous grin. "Hey, Grulok Zirith," he'd say, eyes gleaming with excitement. "I've got a new challenge in mind. Want to be my guinea pig?" And Grulok Zirith, fully aware of what he was getting into, would always agree. Because if there was one thing the Arthropodan had learned from his human friend, it was this: the greatest growth happens when you're willing to push past your comfort zone. In a galaxy brimming with wonders, the little training facility that dared to challenge a Death Worlder became a wonder of its own. And it all began because one human asked for something harder. After all, that's what Death Worlders do best. They take the impossible and make it seem effortless.